Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. Seeing as we've now been given the Revelations intro and a Revelations sneak peek trailer from Treyarch, I've been covering both of those on my channel, I thought it might be a fun idea to try and clear up some of the confusion you guys have about what's going on in the map and essentially ask you the following. What are your biggest questions from the trailers? What are they? Just let me know. I said that on Twitter, I got a load of responses, a couple hundred responses, and I thought, you know what? Instead of me making a video about one of these and going in super depth with one particular thing, why not cover maybe 5 or 6, maybe 7 or 8 in one video and just quick fire, story all the way, and answer your questions. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'll have the gameplay of the trailer down there somewhere, so I'm going to be nice and small so you can watch the trailer alongside. Without further ado, here is question 1. Dr. Lil Robot says, why do you think the Shadow Man was able to communicate with Maxis and never did it with anyone else? I love this question, okay? I love it because the answer is twofold and, in my opinion, it's really interesting, okay? So, first of all, the fact that he has never done it with anyone else is, in my opinion, a situational thing, okay? He's only really done it with Maxis because the key has been in Richtofan's hand, or in Takio's hand, or Nikolai's hand, or Dempsey's hand. It's been with that crew for the entire duration of Black Ops 3. You go back all the way to Shadows of Evil, just after the Shadow Man has been squeezed into the key there, his soul has been encapsulated within it, and the key gets plucked from the hand of the Keeper by Richtofen, and then we fast forward all the way till now, and only now is the key being put down in the house and left just on a table. This is the first time where it's been, I guess, sort of left by the wayside almost, because it has served its purpose. This artifact has done its job. Now that that's happened, it gives the Shadow Man the opportunity to say, I might try and do something here. I might try and enact a little twist on the old story and switch things up a little bit. And so he's going to start calling out to Maxis, and that's why he never did it with anyone else prior. The second thing I want to say about this is that I think this is a really nice bit of character building from Treyarch, or rather, they are already building on stuff that they'd already done several years ago, okay? I'll explain. Maxis as a character is fascinating to me. He's really fascinating for several reasons, far too many to go into in this video, but just the fact that he's been formless so many times for so long, the robotic stuff with him, the fact that he was then in the drone and then flew up into the portal, all of it is really, really interesting stuff. But I want to touch on one particular thing specifically in this video, okay? In the context of this question. Why do I think the Shadow Man was able to communicate with Maxis specifically? Well, I think the Shadow Man may be aware of the fact that Maxis has a history of being easily manipulated, okay? Let me justify this. The first case of easy manipulation, in my opinion, because I think Monty is a bad guy, that's how I'm going to preface this point, is with Monty himself. Dr. Monty basically forces Maxis into a position where he has to sign a deal with the devil. He has to make a commitment to Monty that maybe he didn't really want to make, but Maxis' words are that it was an offer that he could not refuse. Monty played Maxis, and that is one instance of Maxis being basically forced to submit to someone else. Okay? The second instance of it, or rather the prior instance, is much more indicative of his character in my opinion, okay? We go back to Origins, and in Origins, Maxis is a research scientist working at Excavation Site 64, trying to do all sorts of fun stuff at the site, and basically further the German war effort. And at the site, in France, what happens is he suddenly starts hearing voices in his head, and there's a little girl who starts calling out to him, and she's like, hey dad, yeah, can you get me out of here? I'm stuck in Agartha. And at first, Maxis is convinced that he doesn't have a child. Origins Maxis doesn't have a kid called Samantha. But this is exactly where we see this character trait begin to emerge in this character. Maxis bends to the will of Sam. Or rather, Maxis' mind just completely fails to maintain its assuredness that he doesn't have a child and that this voice is just completely in his head and it must be an effect of the 115 or something. He completely fails, miserably so. And this is all because Maxis is easy to manipulate. And so, seems to me like in this particular case, the Shadow Man has picked up on that and said, this is perfect. Maxis is easy to manipulate. Maxis is also in the house with me. And Maxis also is going to easily be spoken to because I've just been left on a desk and Maxis is reading upstairs. And so maybe if I start whispering to him, then quite possibly we will see him come downstairs, grab the key, and, well, the rest is history, right? Next question from Praise T Swift, who says, what is the machine that is spoken about that they destroyed? It's a teleporter. They teleport to the house and then they destroy the teleporter in the hopes that that will consolidate their position in the house and it will be a place that they will never have to leave. That's the idea. They have created what they hope to be a perfect world. But obviously, the Shadow Man has other plans. Make Me a Danwich says, well, this. I don't know. Babavaburks says, will there be parts of old maps in Revelations? This is one that I think a lot of us are already aware of, but I'm going to cover it anyway just to consolidate the information. Yes, we will. For example, Kino der Toten is going to have a playable area of the theatre itself in the map seemingly, but it's going to be a little altered from the Kino we're used to because it's going to be slightly walled off. It's probably going to be a little bit of the stage, a little bit of the seating area, and not much else. We'll also be seeing Nacht an Toten, and actually Nacht an Toten is really interesting because there are death rays there now as well, so that's an added bonus to that map. That I think is going to be part of the house world, and then Kino might be something that they teleport to, or it may have just phased in when the Apothicons came forth, as we see a couple of those sort of rocky outcrops do in the trailer itself. And there's things like Origins, probably, Mob of the Dead, Shangri-La, a couple of things that we've actually seen so far that really do seem to be old maps coming back into this one. It's going to be an inception and an amalgamation of a lot of the past being brought into the future. Really exciting stuff. Big G95 says, why is Maxis so young? Another question that I really like because it allows me to talk specifically about Maxis and Monty's relationship in a way that I wouldn't really necessarily be able to do unless this question came up. So we're going to dive into it now. Monty has some serious powers, okay? I think that it's quite clear right now that he has a lot of knowledge. He's not omniscient by any means, but he has a lot of knowledge, that's for sure, and he's also extremely powerful. Now, Monty seems to have some kind of ability to wind back time, seemingly, okay? And so what appears to have happened is that Maxis in the house does all his stuff with the bombs, etc., and then something really rather weird happens. The kids die, and Maxis is left there waiting out the rest of his days, hoping that his plan will succeed. But Monty comes along and is like, snippety snap of the old fingers, I've got a plan, buddy. Maxis accepts, an offer I cannot refuse, great stuff, and then time seems to sort of fold back on itself in a really peculiar manner, and Maxis basically becomes younger again. Or rather, he de-ages. That's sort of what is implied. He goes from being extremely withered by the radiation around him to suddenly having more pure skin and being more sort of sprightly, I suppose, as well. And the kids are returned as well. So there's a lot going on there. And so if you're confused about how old Maxis is in Revelations, then we can account for it by the fact that he's had that rewinding process happening, and that has, I guess, revitalized him. Tresedha says, who dis? Who dis? It's the Shadow Man. But who dis? Final question. Mr. Silence Death 1 says, is the Galil coming back or nah? This, in my opinion, is a really interesting question because if we look back at Origins, something that I was talking to Mr. T-Lexify about a couple of days ago, and something that really struck me when we were having the conversation is that they brought a lot of new guns into Origins. It's not something I really thought about at the time. It's not something that I feel like was necessarily pushed in a massive PR wave or anything like that. I think that it just sort of happened. Things like the Scar is in Origins. The MG08, of course, is in Origins. The Mauser is in Origins, and a bunch of other guns as well. STG, it's in Origins. And I think there is a good chance that what will happen in this map is they'll do a similar thing. They'll bring a load of new guns that we've never seen before into the map itself, plus a load of the guns from the black market, and maybe even guns from previous Zombies maps like the PPSH will return too. I think there is a high chance that they're going to be focusing on really bringing a new arsenal into the map for us to use, and so will the Galil come back? Maybe. I think that there is a legitimate possibility that it will. So, hopefully, this has been an interesting video for you guys. I've tried really hard to pick out some easy sort of questions and then some more storyline specific ones that I would be able to shed some light on for you guys who might be confused. Fingers crossed you have enjoyed it. If you have, then leave a like, and also let me know if you want another one of these in the future. I could do one next week if you really wanted me to, so just let me know for sure. And the final thing I'll say is that if you do want me to do another one, then leave your questions about Revelations or about zombies in general in the comments down below, and I'll get to them in that next episode. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you, maybe, in another one of these very, very soon. Bye-bye.